Here we go.
There you go.
Yes, we are here. Who wants to start with their lessons from last week?
I'll go ahead and start. Mine was there is a price you pay for judgment is the setting of a price. And as you set it, you will pay it. And so
Mm.
I've been very mindful of judging and then repeating that statement to myself. If I'm judging, I'm going to pay the price of my judgment and not really wanting to have that kind of deal. So I immediately retract the judgment and say, cancel Claire and go about my day. But it's been a really good lesson for me this week. That means judging myself, judging others, judging God, judging life, judging disappointments, judging all of that. So it's been really good.
Mm.
And I have to say something about judgment because it's super important. I uh, I got approached by this company to he asked me, I got introduced to him. One of my clients had spoken to him about me. And so we were talking, and he wanted to develop a whole advanced leadership curriculum to go around to 200 clients that he's got. And so it would have been a big deal. And I said, yeah, I'm really interested. He said, you're just what I'm looking for. Let's sign non-disclosure agreements. Let's jump in. Second time, the following time in Spectrum, which was last week, it's like we never spoke.
Wow.
It was like, I don't know why we're really on the call. I'm really busy. And I'm like, what are you talking about? We've signed legal documents to look at each other's stuff, which you sent me. Like, what are you talking about? And so I just went, well, it's obvious to me that this is this is not a place where I get to play. So I just got off the Zoom call. I was really disappointed. But here's the beauty of judgment. So I go to bed, I'm upset. Robert's like, what's up with you? And I said, well, this just happened and I'm pissed off. And he goes, it was probably the wrong person to work with. I'm like, I know you're right. It was the absolute wrong person to work with. If he's that way, like without even being in a relationship with him yet, who God knows what he'd do in a relationship. So I said, no, you're absolutely right. So the good news is that a week later, which was on Monday, yesterday, I got invited to bring the TMRT process into this company that's going to roll out a in-house trauma training for all of the first responders in all the fire departments across the United States and the emergency service departments across the United States so that they can coach each other within the workplace. And I'm like, I have it online now. And they're like, oh, you're kidding? You have it online? I'm like, yeah, yeah, it's all online. Like,
That's
when can we
great.
set up the next meeting? And I'm like, that's why all these things this year have blown up because this that happened yesterday is what I'm supposed to be doing. So when we judge something, we've got no idea what's coming around the corner. Just because we can't see it, our
Mm.
ego freaks out and goes, oh my God, this is terrible. This is awful. No, I dodged a major bullet by working with someone with a lack of integrity,
Yeah.
with who didn't show up that way, but ended up that way.
Mm.
So I think it's very that little statement for me is very potent
Mm.
because we have to be in the slipstream of the current of circumstances and know that all of it is in divine right order, whether our ego says it's not or whether it is. So I'm getting more and more capable of surrendering to the unknown.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So those are two little miracles that happened based upon that statement for me.
But can you imagine? I mean, it probably happens a lot. I'm sure it's happened for me, where you get stuck. You're stuck with that guy who you shouldn't work with, and you just let that ruminate, and the opportunity passes you by because you're too busy ruminating on what just failed. to see the
Yeah.
opportunity that's actually right there around the
Well,
corner.
that two major big things like that, like two of them since since February, promises that were made, I mean, commitments that were given, it just blew up without even a regard for me. And I just sat back and went, wow, like, why? And I don't have to ask why anymore. I just have to go into divine right order.
Yes.
That's the
Mm,
default.
love it.
So I wanted to share that because I thought that could serve everyone.
Definitely. I love that.
And the thing about judgment, Swabby and I were talking the other night, and he came out with this profound statement because we are talking about judging, and I said, it's bad to judge and blah, blah, blah. And he said, no, no, you have to judge. So you can judge, but don't condemn. And I thought, wow, that's actually really cool because we judge anyway. It's human nature to do it. So if we're beating ourselves up for judging, that's really not fair on ourselves. So judge, just don't condemn.
Mm.
The
I think
word
that's where,
discernment. Go ahead.
yes. No, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
You
Go
go,
ahead and
Gary.
finish. No, no, you go.
Well, I think it was Carly that I first noticed do that, where she changed the word judgment to discernment. So it doesn't carry all that baggage with it. It's not something you have to ruminate on. It's just working out what's right for you and right for the time.
Mm.
Yep. It's about boundaries and what feels right and all that stuff. So,
I've showed you this before, I'm sure, but I bought A Course in Miracles secondhand, and it came with that sticker on it.
what
What's
does
the
the
sticker?
sticker say?
Discernment.
Oh.
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a really big part of life, isn't it? Discernment, working out
Yep.
what's important and what's not, and so's that actually what Swabby said, judge but don't condemn. I wrote that
Mm.
down.
Yeah.
Really.
Mm.
Yeah,
You haven't even
that's
started
pretty good.
reading yet.
I think I told you that
Mm.
I started listening to A Course in Miracles on Audible. But after about, I don't know, the first few paragraphs, he was like, nah. But the narrator's not that great either. So, and he listens to Audible books all the time. And when he finds a good narrator, it just makes the book that much better.
Absolutely.
But I said to him, look, this is where we've got to in like the last couple of years. And we discuss every paragraph as we go through, and we pick out little words in there, and then we discuss those. And I said, so to read it on your own, I said, there's no way I would have read it on my own at all. I would have thrown it in the bin by now, still knowing it was a great book, just not understanding the depth of it. So, yeah, but he said, look, I'll try it again. But yeah, it's something that needs to be discussed. It really does.
Yeah.
There is a website though, which I found, which kind of tries to break down each of the paragraphs.
Oh, really?
But without that discussion, it's still not that clear. It's still somebody's
Opinion.
idea on it. So
Mm.
Who wrote that? Do you know?
I'm not sure. Let me see if I can find it for you, and I can get my mouse to work.
Because that's really quite counter to what Bill Thetford and Helen wanted for the Course in Miracles.
Of course. Yeah,
They
absolutely.
don't want anybody interpreting the course for anybody else. But to sit around and discuss it, that's quite different.
Yeah.
And that's what we would do in the Course in Miracles that I was teaching, where Bill Thetford would come and sit in the back of the room.
Yeah.
And that one day he came up to me and introduced himself, and I was like blown away. And he said, I love the way you guys are doing the Course in Miracles. So he would love what we're doing. Because I think what we're doing is how the Course really ought to be taught or
Yeah.
digested.
Yeah, absolutely.
No
And I
one's the
think,
authority. Everyone's got their input, and that's what they wanted.
yeah.
Yeah.
Also, if you wanted to listen to it, there's that app
Yes.
that is lovely narration.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Really lovely.
ACIM?
Yeah, and it's got the pearls because there's quite a few of them. But I listen to the daily lessons on that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Original edition daily lessons. Okay.
Mm.
Yeah.
Do they discuss the daily lessons?
No, it's just read out with lovely background music. It's
So
Oh,
is
boy.
it
you
the
look,
ACIM original edition?
Yeah.
yeah. And it's got pearls because when you go to Play Store or Apple Store, there's quite a few. If you just put in ACIM, quite a few
Yeah.
come up. That's
Yes.
the one with the black background and pearls on it.
Yep. Just downloading it now because that might be something that that Swabby would like to listen to if the narration's good.
Mm.
Bobby sounds like a very cool man.
He is a very cool man.
Someone like I would like to hang out with.
Yeah, he's at home today. He went to a very big funeral yesterday, and it was a 5 hour trip return.
Mm.
So yeah, and so they went down to Adelaide, and all of the people that we know, there's about 40 odd people from the York Peninsula that went down. It was a huge thing.
Mm.
So he didn't get back till quite late, so he's having today off.
Mm. Fair enough.
Good.
Other lessons?
Hmm. Well, I'll do mine if that's okay. So mine was, I love you for the truth in you as God does. And I think the mere fact that Swabby and I talked about this the other night, because I actually read that out to him, and then he came up with that little pearl of wisdom, I thought, well, and the mere fact now that I can look at somebody or a situation and feel that it's okay to judge for that split second, but I'm not condemning. I'm trying to look at that in a different way. It may not be my cup of tea, it may not be my person, but I'm not going to condemn it.
Right.
So I think that's the whole I love you for the truth in you. That's relating to me and also the person or the situation.
The frame I like to put around that as well, Linda, is that person, regardless of whether I agree with them or not, whether they're saying something outrageous or not, they are exactly where they require to be for the point of evolution they are at that moment. So who am I to say that they're wrong? Because that may be a point of confusion or darkness or inability to see their truth. That is a really important place for them to finally have the breakthrough. Sometimes the longer people stay in the dark, the stronger they become, the more fed up with the feelings that they have, that they finally create a breakthrough.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
it's ridiculous to condemn anybody for where they are.
It is, but it's what we've been brought up with. We've listened to our
It's what we're
parents and we've
conditioned.
listened to our family, and we've listened to our friends. And I can absolutely admit to you guys that over the years, I didn't even think for myself. I would just listen to what other people had to say and form my opinion based on what they'd said, but it was exactly what they were saying. Whereas, my 50s was a big turning point where I did stop to form my own opinion, research it. It could take a couple of hours, it could take 2 weeks, who knows, but research it. And then form your own opinion from what it is that you've read up on. And it takes a long time because there's a whole lot of crap on the internet, of course. But yeah, you've just got to sift through it and find what resonates with you and your values and ideals and what have you.
Yep. Yep. I actually find I'm using AI for that. So instead of asking Google, I ask AI, and then I don't have a page of ads to deal with.
Yeah.
I've
And
found with
better.
you still got to be a bit careful with AI though, because
Absolutely.
it's still based on input from a person. So it's, while it has its own supposed intelligence, it's still based on what's been inputted into it.
Yeah. No, it's just the starting point. It should only ever be a starting
Absolutely. Totally agree.
just so you
It's
can
all
sift through all the crap and actually, and I always ask for the references. So
it's
yeah.
only really about the prompts. You know, I figured out a way to put in prompts into AI with very specific data about a client without names, so it's confidential, and then ask AI to produce a metaphor that would heal the condition, a story that the client could read that would be the story of their life and the struggles they're in, and create a healing metaphor for it. And I tell you, it has been remarkable. Some of the things I've been able to send clients lately. So I'm going to teach people that in the master practitioner, because I'm not in the master practitioner, in the coach training, because it is a incredible tool to use for clients for ongoing care and aftercare after sessions. It's amazing.
Mm. I did buy that book that you recommended at one stage, Therapeutic Metaphors. What was it? I haven't read it yet though. I'm trying to gain it through osmosis, so it's on the
Isn't
bookshelf.
isn't it by David Gordon? Is that
What's
his name,
that?
David? Is it the book, the author, David Gordon?
Oh, I don't know. It's a weird cover.
It's a brown color.
Yeah, yeah. I can't even see it now. Too many books to look at. No, don't know.
In my shelves. I'm trying to remember the name of the guy, but yeah, he's really good. He's
Mm.
really good.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a shortcut. Um, Coralie, have you shared your lesson?
No, but it was the same as Linda's. I love you for the truth in you as God does. Yeah. I've just been
Yes.
having massive downloads that just keep coming. And there was this thing, because I wasn't home last night. I was doing this way out of my comfort zone Toastmasters thing, and I've got another one coming in the weekend, and I'm doing 2 courses. I'm like running. Apart from that, I Kevin recorded this thing off the news last night and then warned me that I'd be upset about it. And what it was that the government have stopped anyone from claiming that women's work is as important as men's, really. And, that people who are carers and stuff should be paid equally. So they stopped that. And what came to me about that this morning was, but my calling is back to the cave. And so I'm having heaps of stuff coming back about that, about, in society, if we go back to the cave, that there were the hunters and there were the people that, for whatever reasons, weren't hunting because they were back in the cave having babies and getting ready for when the hunters come back. And my calling is back to the cave, and it just kept coming to me. And then also I was looking that up of like who I am back in the cave, and I came up with witch and crone, and I just looked up crone because I thought, oh, it'd be good if there were 3. And crone is for the crown chakra. And next week in my course we're doing the crown, and I'm just like, whoa, crazy times. But it's awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Mine was they will answer you if you learn to ask only truth of them. And it's been an interesting week to do that lesson because I went to the Margaret River Writers Festival with my book club ladies, or some of them. And we had this awesome house where we were staying, and someone had brought, she is a farmer, but she's also been a National Party politician and actually had a seat in Parliament. So we also had the federal election this weekend.
Yeah.
So it was a really, really interesting weekend to actually be doing this because the Writers' Festival, full of people just speaking for an hour about their book and about their lives, very different speakers, and to just be able to sit there and absorb that and without any, and just listen to their truth, which came out with most people. There was one who was very superficial and very, very practiced at what she was doing. But most everyone else was extremely raw and real, and there were tears on stage and in the audience, and it was amazing to be able to be focusing on this, listening to these people. And some of them, I wouldn't have bought their books, but it was just interesting to listen to them. One book I'm going to send you, Gary, I got it autographed. I got 2 copies, one for me and one for you.
Oh boy.
Have you heard of Stan Grant?
I have not, no.
So he's an Indigenous. He's got mixed blood, as most people do in this country, but mostly Indigenous. He's been a journalist. He's been on television. He's been in at war fronts and reporting from the war front. A very interesting fellow, and he's talking about God, and he's talking about all the stuff that we talk about.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It was incredible. And everyone, all the girls went to see this guy, and they're all going, well, this isn't what we saw on television. This is nothing like what I expected, because he was just him. He wasn't reporting. He didn't have like a persona up. This was just him, and this is what it felt like for that whole weekend. And then Saturday night was the election night. And because Wendy knows, she has been a politician, she knows all what's actually going on. And everyone was pretty much voted differently. Like all 5 ladies, we all had our own ideas of what we should vote for, but there was no judgment on anybody. There was no, you're right, there was no judgment at all because it was democracy and we get to choose what we vote for. And it was just amazing to be watching and learning all this stuff that I knew nothing about with the elections, because when he's going, this is what's happening here, and it's just amazing. So I learned a lot with this statement, just listening to other people.
Oh, awesome. That's
And
great.
also being heard, because on the night before, on the Friday night, one lady who's Canadian was asking what my story was, and I said, oh yeah, 13 schools, my first 7 years, blah blah blah. And one of the first things that Stan Grant says, he went to 14 schools in his first 7 years. And it's like, and there was a lot of my story in there.
Awesome.
Yeah. So it's been a great week.
Oh, it sounds it. I've had a good week
Yeah.
too so far.
Well, we're almost at half an hour, so we better start reading the book, hey?
Yay.
All right, let me just. And Kindle goes to sleep, so I have to keep waking it up. But we should be right now. And we finished number 10 last week. So if we're happy to move on, or we can revisit that one before we start, what would we like to do?
I'm happy to move to 11.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you
That
want to
was a
read that
big
one?
paragraph last week.
Yeah, we unpacked that one.
Okay, I'll start it. Never forget then that you set the value on what you receive and the price by what you give. To believe that it is possible to get much for little is to believe that you can bargain with God. God's laws are always fair and perfectly consistent. By giving, you receive, but to receive is to accept, not to get. It is impossible not to have, but it is possible not to know you have. The recognition of having is a willingness for giving, and only by this willingness can you recognize what you have. What you give is therefore the value you put on what you have, being the exact measure of the value you put upon it. And this, in turn, is a measure of how much you want it. Shall we take this line by line?
Yes.
Yes.
Did anybody just go, yeah, I got that. That's so clear. I kind of got it. What do you guys think?
I love you set the value on what you receive.
I love that too.
And I'm thinking of a girlfriend who um she's got lots of value to add, but she doesn't recognize it herself. And so she's not receiving the things that she's wanting, that she thinks she wants it, but she's going, oh, I can't afford it. I don't have this, I don't have that. But I can kind of see how it's actually all there open for her, but she doesn't recognize her own values. So she doesn't provide the services that she is willing and able to actually do. Well, she's not willing, but she's able to provide. She doesn't provide these services. Therefore, she doesn't see her value, and therefore she doesn't receive anything either.
Yeah. Oh, that one thing on number 10, if paying is equated with getting, you will set the price low, but demand a high return.
Yeah. I kind of feel that with some people now as well, and I'm very wary of taking on clients who do this, who they feel like they're wanting to take, but they're like, one of the first questions they ask is how much does it cost? Because they want it, but they don't actually think it's valuable somehow.
Yeah. It is interesting how people will pursue something, and as soon as a price comes up, they will back away and almost decline it. I did something yesterday that I've never done before in 37 years. Client called to interview me to see if he wanted to do coaching with me. And as soon as I got to the price, he said, well, let me think about it. I'll contact you in a couple weeks. And I said, bullshit. No, you won't. I said, here's the truth. You told me that this was the most important thing for you to get fire in your belly and break through the ceiling that you feel like you're stuck under. And I said, and now you're telling me you're going to wait 2 more weeks and think about breaking through that ceiling? So you just told me two things. First, super important to me. Second, I'm going to think about it and contact you in 2 weeks. And then I said, why would you wait 2 weeks to have your breakthrough that you've been trying to break through for about 5 years? Why would you wait? And I just said, I'm going to call BS on that. What do you have to say? And he goes, you're right. Sign me up. I'm procrastinating. I said, you're right. You are. So it's almost as if when people drop into these unconscious patterns, if you don't help them become aware of it, they will prolong it and stay spinning in a cycle of denial for another 6 months to a year. Are y'all with me? So
Absolutely.
same thing with ourselves. How often do we go, oh, I'm going to do this? And then it comes down to putting down money and we go, oh no, I'm going to wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it depends. I'm doing that right now with some things that I've bought that I want to jump into, but I just haven't had the time. So I keep saying, "Oh, I'll do it. I'll do it on this day. I'll do it on that day." I think I'm going to stay up tonight and do some of it tonight because I started. I've got
You're
to
We'll
calling
start.
ask
yourself
you next
out.
week. We'll ask you next week if you did that, Gary.
Okay, do because I have to. So there's two things I need to do. I'm doing an AI course and another course on something else that I wanted to understand what this person's doing, and see how it fits into the TMRT work and that sort of thing. So yeah.
Gary, we've all started calling it TMRT, but I must admit I haven't done your latest course. What does TMRT actually stand for?
Well, it did stand for the trauma resolution technique or
Yeah.
trauma memory resolution technique. But because I had to take the word trauma out of it, because I'm launching next week with IICT in 6 different countries that certification is going to be available. Um, I had to change it and take the word trauma out of there. So I just decided I would call it the memory resolution technique. So I didn't
Nice.
have to put it out TMRT and all my manuals and all that stuff. So
Love it.
it's still called TMRT, but it's the memory resolution technique.
Gotcha. Um, to to believe that it is possible to get much for little is to believe that you can bargain with God. Hmm. I've got an image of my mind of dealing with the devil.
Well, for every action, there's a like and equal reaction. And that's exactly what it's saying. We live in this universe of cause and effect, so yeah. I love that one line, by giving, you receive. But to receive is to accept, not to get.
So
From that,
is that does that mean that you're giving without expecting in return? So giving without receiving is the expectation.
It says by giving, you receive, meaning that you're this is how I interpret anyways, that doing an action of giving, it's already reciprocal to you in time just by the act of giving. Because whatever you give, you also receive in equal measure. So by giving, you receive, but to receive is to accept, not to get. And the way I interpret that is that to receive is I'm accepting the energy back to me, but I can't get it, I can't grasp it, I can't go and obtain it. It's by the giving that I receive. I didn't explain that as good as I could have, but that's the best I can do right now. Does anyone else have a hit on that or a take on that?
I find it's all quite sort of raw and personal. It just sort of I have a whole lot of trouble with all of the like charging for things, paying for things, all of that. I'm like probably like when you were saying about people who, like I'd be like your guy, but then but though I wouldn't say I'm going to put it off for 2 weeks, I'd probably just say, oh, that's not for me at the moment. But and I sort of feel like in real life, not so much reading the text, but if it like so many people will say to you, I've got all the answers. Just give me 10 grand and everything will work out amazing for you. And you're like, yeah, and maybe you're right, but I don't know. So I sort of get caught in a loop with
Yeah.
this, in that loop, because there is so much opportunity.
When they say trust me, you know to walk away.
So many people, especially in the space I'm in, will charge ridiculous amounts of money. They'll promise you the moon, like everything's going to shift, without ever really saying to you, it's about your application, the focus of your own mind. It is not up to the technique. The technique assists. The technique will give you a system. But if you don't practice and you don't apply your mind, you're not going to get the results that George Smith down the road a year or two got. You're not gonna. So there's that element of absolute ownership that people need to be educated that this is the secret sauce to making any of those promises actually work. I called that guy out because I knew exactly what he was doing and I knew exactly what he wasn't going to do. And I knew that if I didn't call him out, it wasn't that I needed his money. It was that he was going to procrastinate his life away if he keeps bumping up against this one thing where he says he wants it, but he will not invest in himself. The issue really was his own self-worth and his own investment in himself. He wouldn't do it. And so when I confronted him with it, then he saw it and he actually then did it. And he's been great so far. He's filled out all the paperwork. He's already made his payment for 4 sessions. He was like, now he's like on it. So he had a little minor breakthrough just by saying, that's bullshit. I wish I could make that much change with people just by saying 2 words all the time. I think maybe I'll use that more.
And I think
Yeah,
too,
it's calling out the elephant in the room, really, isn't it?
Oh yeah, you have to, because if you just kind of pussyfoot around and go, okay, well, hope to hear from you, you've just codependently ensnared that person, and gave him no benefit and no service, nor did you give anything to them, but agree with the lie that they're telling themselves. So it's a fine line to walk, but I think it's important to walk it.
Sorry, Linda, were you going to say something?
yes, but I'm just sort of thinking how to word it. So we both know somebody, V, who has got a great healing practice, but it's actually got to a point now where it's that expensive. Like I always saw the value in it up to a point, but I don't see value in something that somebody wants to end up charging thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for, because the value is not in how much you pay for it. The value is what you can extract from it. Don't have an issue with the money per se, but it's based around the money, which is why I walked away from it, basically.
Yes, I know who you're talking about, Linda. And I walked away not because of the money, but I walked away because I discovered too much and found it inauthentic and not integrous.
Yeah, for the mere fact that it changed and changed and changed and became something that it wasn't when it originally started. And I know that when you start off with something, it's about continuous improvement so that you're providing the value to people who are paying for that. But I just found that the value slipped away, and yeah, it just became a really expensive thing, and it morphed into something that was incredibly different from how it started out, with love and um, giving and kindness and all that sort of thing, into money. It was more about the money. So it was very sad to see that happen, but I am still glad that I am a practitioner in that, because how it was taught originally is a absolutely beautiful thing, and it can provide a lot of what's the word? Well, it provides value for people.
I've kind of summarized this now in my own words. You only receive what you believe you are worthy to have and that you are willing to accept. I'm still not happy with have, though. I feel I need to change that word. Maybe even just worthy of. Is that helpful to anybody?
Yeah, I
Not
think
really?
that makes it very, very clear.
Mm.
But here's the caveat to this paragraph is that if we, and we'll go back to judgment, if we're constantly judging and separating ourselves from the Creator through judging and condemning some aspect of God's creation, be that a person, a set of circumstances, looking at the flow of how, for me anyways, looking at the flow of the road that America seems to be on right now, is one part of me could be very terrified and very, very upset. And the other part of me looks at it and goes, it's in the perfect flow of the slipstream of the divine. And there's nothing I can do to alter this course. We're just going down this road. And and I can raise my frequency to a place of complete acceptance, or I can deepen my disappointment and lower my frequency into really low emotional states. And what does that serve? Because we do have this resonant field that issues out of our body 15 to 20 feet. And I'm thinking, why would I walk around in a low vibrational state of anger, disappointment, judgment, condemnation, where I know that I only receive that I focus on? And the higher my vibratory resonance, the higher the vibratory resonance of what I see with my two eyes and embrace in my reality. So if I continue to see the divine and unity in the world, even though it appears that it's anything but that, then I end up building more of a heaven that I can live in perceptually, and then I believe physically as well. Vibrationally, perceptually, and then the last is I will physically experience more of that. And that's what I'm choosing.
Mm. Nice.
And I think so just looking at like leaders of countries and stuff, because we have just been through the election and what have you. It's my first time voting as an Australian citizen. But we can't be disappointed in our leaders because they've been voted in by people that we talk to every day. So, whatever it is that the leaders are doing, we can't condemn that because they were voted in to do the job. I'm not agreeing that they're right. I'm just saying. So,
And I just feel like, and this is kind of, I think, what having the beauty of hanging around with these wise women over the weekend while the election's on is that you just have to make the most of what there is. So, we can't control, at the end of the day, we can't control the leader. So we work with what we have.
which is really interesting because they are elected, aren't they? They should be
Hmm.
working for us. But anywho, that is a whole nother conversation.
Yes, it is.
But it
What do
made
you
you
think?
smile though, didn't it?
Do we want to go on to number 12 or are we done with number 11?
I'm not sure if we're done with number 11. What you give is therefore the value you put on what you have, being the exact measure of the value you put upon it. Yeah, I guess we've been through that, haven't we? Everyone
Yeah, I
happy?
think so.
Well, I think both 10 and 11 are the same, but just said in a different way.
Yeah. Notice that they make a distinction between getting and receiving. Like in number 10, it repeats, like the price for getting is to lose sight of value, making it inevitable that you will not value what you receive because it's about getting. I'm interpreting getting as I'm going after that thing, I want that thing, rather than I'm going to do acts that reciprocate that so I can receive the energetic benefit of it.
Yes.
Instead of like, I want that Lamborghini, so I'm going to go out and I'm going to work and I'm going to, not that money is this, but go out there and work and work and work, maybe do a few little shady deals so I make an extra $50,000 so I have a bigger down payment for my Lamborghini.
I'm a bit worried about you, Gary.
I don't like Lamborghinis, so nor do I like really fancy cars. I think it's ostentatious and ridiculous. But I do believe that it's important that we look at the intent on why we want to get. And if why we want to get is marred in ego, then I think it does us damage. If we're doing the right thing, we will naturally receive like and similar energies back. And then when that happens, you can go get your Lamborghini or do whatever you want to do. But it isn't about the getting of something. It's about the acts in the world that have the energetic frequency of abundance. And then if that comes back to you, fabulous. If it doesn't, fabulous. But I keep interpreting the getting as being attached to something external that elevates your specialness.
So
That's what I
Joe's,
think I like about that statement. What you give is therefore the value you put on what you have. So you already have it, and I just feel like that's a huge endorsement for gratitude practice. Be grateful
Yeah.
for what you already have.
So Joe's
That's
made a comment. He
I don't have
said,
my chat open.
I don't get this. I've given for years, but have not received equally. It's gotten to the point where I gave so much I literally went broke because I believe that giving and receiving went hand in hand. So am I not meant to do what I was doing? I think so. From my interpretation is that when you give, you don't expect to receive. It's not a given for a, if you give that you receive something back. You do the giving without considering getting back. You're giving for the love of the person or the love of the project, or you give because you want to give, not because you're expecting a return in that.
I feel compelled to say something to that, Joe, and I understand what you are saying. Being in this field for as long as I've been in this field, I have done things where I have, given away, trainings when people show up and they don't have money, and other people have paid full price, and other people come in for free. And I sit back and I've looked at the results of that. And one of the things that I've experienced is that if I give someone, and I don't know your set of circumstances, Joe, so I can only speak from my experience. Someone would come in and say, I don't have money. I really know I have to be here. I know I have to receive this and get this information. And I'll go, okay. So I've had people pay me $100 a month for 3 years to pay for an expensive training that I've done. Danny King from Queensland paid me $100 a month for 3 years. He was living in his van, came to my training and said, I need to do this. I don't have any money. I'm not working, but I can pay $100 a month. I didn't know him from a bar soap. I said, yes, you're in. And he did every month, $100 a month in my account. I've had other people rip me off, burn me multiple times. I've been, people say, oh my God, they cry, they do all that. And they say, I gotta do this, I gotta do this. I say, okay, come in. Here's a payment program. It's honor system. You pay me on that, and they never make one payment. So what I learned was from all that, and this is like 37 years of doing this, what I learned from all that, if they come and they're in such a poverty mindset that they cannot and will not value themselves enough to pay for what they've received, they further injure themselves. So I set them up to give them more evidence of further injuring themselves by an inability to keep their word. So we think we're giving, but this is where the word discernment comes in. I mean, I look at clients sometimes and I feel now more than anything, I will feel the energy issuing from them. And I will generally, my last line of defense is my pendulum. And I'll sit with it, and hopefully I have a picture of them, and I'll look at the person and I'll hold my pendulum and I'll say, is this person trustworthy? And I'll get a yes swing, I'll get a no swing. I'll feel my gut, I'll ask questions, I'll do all of that and use the best discerning devices I have consciously, and then I'll get my pendulum and I'll do something unconsciously. I'll muscle test myself to see what my subconscious mind says, see if I test strong, see if I get a yes signal on my pendulum, and then I'll make my final decision. But I enact discernment more than I ever have before, Joe. So one of the things that I will say is sometimes we give away things because we're not valuing ourselves. We're not feeling that what we have to offer is of value. And that level of consciousness, what it brings is the external experience of us not believing in our own value. Therefore, life does not show up to value us or give us the demonstration of value, which means we don't get paying clients, we don't get compensated in any way because we're not believing in ourselves. We find ourselves thinking, well, I'll give this away because maybe it's really not good enough and then I'm not going to disappoint them. Or we're thinking to themselves, maybe this should be free because maybe I'm just not good enough. And I don't know what's going on in your mind, but that has definitely gone on mine in the early years. So the place I've arrived at, hopefully this saves you some time, Joe. The place I arrived at was, no, people are going to pay me. And I'm not giving away free things ever again because I find myself, I disempower people. I say, yes, it's okay not to pay. Yes, it's okay to ask for something when you could easily get a job and work for it and value it and prove to yourself that you can take care of yourself. I rob them of that. I'll never do it again. I did in one of the trainings last year, and I vowed to myself, I will never do it again because I've watched this person do the exact same thing over and over and over again. Every time I do a training, this person will go, can I talk to you privately? And I'm like, no, you can't, because I know what you're going to say. You're going to ask me if you can do the training for free. And I'm going to say absolutely hell no, because you're capable and you're not giving yourself the opportunity to prove it to yourself. So therefore, I'm enabling you. And it's the enabling stuff that is the most harmful to us. So, Joe, it comes back down to your self-worth. And it will always, Joe, go to your imprint years from birth until 7. Those are your imprint years. And shortly after that, It is the relationship with your mother and father that will set up some of these core beliefs. Not only that, but some of the beliefs that you brought in with you, the predisposition to filter your reality through a set of unconscious beliefs from lifetimes back. All of that needs to have the resonance of it cleaned up. And when that gets cleaned up, you start creating a different reality. You start valuing yourself more. And like I'm deeply in the process of doing this. I sometimes I sit down and go, oh God, there's another failure that I didn't do the TMRT process on that I know I felt like shit about. Okay, well, I'm going to sit down, make a list of anything that I can find, and I do it, I do it, I do it, and I do it again. Are you guys with me? You guys with me?
Yes.
Maybe some.
Yeah, maybe some, but like, with saying about free not being of value, I think like this class that if you call this a class, what we're doing here now is incredibly valuable and it's free. So when it comes to things like that,
Yeah, but
that's
no one's paying for this. We're all
mm,
showing up free will. That's different than having a paid course and then someone getting it for free, knowing that they can get it for free and other people are paying for it. So therefore they make their incapability an asset to them. I
oh,
could get
okay.
it for free. And so it shows that they can get what other people have to pay for nothing. So therefore their inadequacy is of value, like it's an asset to them. It
Okay.
trains them to use it again to get what they want without payment and play the poor me.
So there's no money involved in doing this, like our thing together here, but
Mm.
there is so much value being exchanged in every single
Yeah,
conversation. Mm.
we do it out of our hearts. We do it out of our own, love for one another. We do it out of our requirement to wake ourselves up. And we're all here for a very, very similar mission.
Yep.
We're here for a similar mission.
Mm.
And Joe,
And
contact me via email. And if you want to do the TMRT certification, you can go online and do it. I'll set up a special payment program for you. So don't let that, like make you crazy and not drop off, because you can get clients with that and you can start to make money because you'll get results. So contact me, but don't give it away for free, buddy,
mm.
because we love you and we believe in you. And I know you're hurting. And if I can do something to assist you, but you're going to pay to prove to yourself that you can. And then we can go from there. No worries. Even if you paid $10 a month or $20 a month, I'll make a payment program for you. But you decide that, you just let me know. And you can't give up, Joe, because quite frankly, all it is your mind and your ego saying that you're too broken to do anything, and you're not. The truth for all of us, Joe, is that God gives us these. If your soul came here to learn about how to be empowered and how to wake up to that power, what will happen is God will give you every obstacle to break you so that you finally have to get up and stand up and walk forward. That is the lesson we learn here from the biggest obstacles that make us have to stand finally. I can't even tell you how many times, Joe, that I've wanted to break down, cry, give up, not do it, think this is just bloody impossible. Coming to me for free stuff as well. Oh, I got it. Yeah, don't give your worth away to anybody anymore from this day forward, Joe. Just don't. You can do this. I'm reading chat. I don't know if you guys are reading chat, what
yes,
Joe's saying.
yeah.
Just don't give it away anymore. Just look at them and say, this is my value. You're capable of being able to come to this me for, like, I tell people, you're not going to value what I've got to give unless you have equal measure of investment. You won't even value it. You won't use it because you won't value it. Great. Then when you see your value, speak your value to others. When they show up and say, I can't, just go, look, this is my value. This is your value. Your value is that you empower yourself to be able to pay for a service, even if it's on payment programs, but to pay for a service so you know your own value. If you cannot or will not pay for services, then you don't value yourself. And 3/4 of everyone's problems is they don't value themselves and they won't invest in themselves as a consequence of it. So we can talk about this another time, Joe, and I'm happy to do that for you, to have a conversation with you. But this becomes a road that we have to travel, and we have to get on a little bit early in our careers, is to be able to actually see our own worth and ask for the money that we're worthy of creating. For myself, I always create payment programs. For people who come and say, I can't do the payment programs, I'll say, I'll do extended payment programs. But this is on you. If you do not do this, you further injure yourself. Now, I've got people that have stiffed me in the TMRT program. But, I don't damage myself. I did the right thing. My concern is that they damage themselves and make themselves further down that pothole of low self-esteem and disbelief in themselves because they've just injured themselves again with someone who completely trusted them and did nothing but try to help them. They injure themselves and it makes their life worse. So I love you, Joe. I think everybody here on this call loves you. And I just really desire your life to shine, and it can. But a lot of the beliefs rolling around in your head is really based upon old imprints from childhood. That isn't a mindset. They're neurologically wired in. And that's where the TMRT process becomes extraordinarily effective because it dewires the wiring, and then you can start installing something different. And that's what I would love to see for you. Yes, you are awesome, my friend. Okay, we have
Girl
gone
with
over.
you, Joe. Yeah, that's okay.
Sorry, I ranted.
There was something in that for all of us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Joe, for still showing up.
Yes. And we do love you, Joe.
Yeah. Lessons that we're going to take away quickly.
I'm going to go back to an old lesson
Oh, yeah.
because I didn't see one in these paragraphs that actually really rang for me.
We only read one paragraph.
I know. So mine is much love to you too, Joey. Mine is you need do so little because your little part is so powerful that it will bring the whole to you. Accept your little part and let the whole be yours.
I remember that one.
3 steps. Be grateful in the morning to God. Surrender over the results of your life and the flow of your life to God. And then ask to be a mouthpiece for the Lord in every relationship you have. That's our little part.
Yeah. Beautiful. I did get one. You set the value on what you receive. That's mine.
Beauty. Corley?
I think I'm going to stick with Swabby's one of judge but don't condemn.
That's a really good one. I almost picked that. Linda?
Linda?
by giving you receive, but to receive is to accept, not to get. I really like that. That's very cool.
Yes.
Receiving is to accept, not to get.
Yep.
And Joey, do you want to put something in the chat if you've got a statement? You don't have to have one, but if you have one, if you want to put it in the chat, that might be awesome for you. Just above. Okay, cool. Value is deeper than beliefs. Sweet.
Yeah, beautiful. All
Okay,
right.
gang. God bless you all. See you next
Everybody.
week.
Love you guys. Have a great week.
We will.
You too.
See ya.
Bye-bye.